Earlier this week, the Saudi Crown Prince and Iran's president discussed the Israel-Gaza conflict for the first time. In today's video, we will delve into Iran and Saudi Arabia's sanctions on Israel. Amidst the escalating conflict between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas, Saudi Arabia is pausing US-backed efforts to normalize relations with Israel. This decision, informed by two sources familiar with Riyadh's stance, indicates a swift reassessment of foreign policy priorities. Before we delve deeper into the video, if you're new here, remember to hit the bell icon to subscribe so you won't miss the informative videos we'll be uploading in the future. The crisis has prompted the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to engage with Iran. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman received his first phone call from Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi as Riyadh seeks to prevent a regional surge in unrest. What's the status of Saudi Arabia normalizing ties with Israel? The two sources reported to Reuters that US-backed normalization talks, crucial for the kingdom to secure a US defense treaty, are now on hold. The recent Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th was a turning point. Before this, both Israeli and Saudi leaders were reportedly making progress towards a deal with significant implications for the Middle East. However, Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Islam, wouldn't let its pursuit of a US defense agreement be derailed, even if Israel offered no substantial concessions to the Palestinians. Neglecting Palestinian interests risks angering Arabs region-wide, as Arab news channels broadcast images of Palestinians killed in Israeli airstrikes. Hamas's October 7th offensive resulted in over 1,300 Israeli casualties, and by Friday, Israeli strikes on Gaza had killed over 1,952 Palestinians. The first source familiar with Riyadh's thinking stated that talks could not continue for now, emphasizing the need for Israeli concessions to Palestinians when discussions resume, suggesting Riyadh hasn't completely abandoned the idea. The Saudi reassessment highlights the challenges Washington faces in further integrating Israel into a region where the Palestinian cause remains a significant Arab concern. Normalization was already taboo in the Arab world, and this war only exacerbates that, observed Saudi Arabia expert Aziz Al-Gashiyyan. Despite efforts to expand the Abraham Accords, with certain Gulf states like the UAE normalizing relations, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan stated in a White House briefing that the focus was shifting to other urgent issues, though the normalization effort wasn't on hold. Washington urged Riyadh to condemn Hamas's attack, but Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan refrained, confirmed by a U.S. source familiar with the situation. The regional tension also led to the first conversation between the Saudi Crown Prince and Iran's president since the Gulf rivals re-established diplomatic ties in April through a Chinese-brokered plan. In their call, the Crown Prince stressed Saudi Arabia's efforts to moderate the conflict, and Iranian President Raisi aimed to assist Palestine and prevent regional conflict escalation. It was a positive and promising call. The Saudi government, while not elaborating on the contact, stated the Crown Prince emphasized opposition to civilian targeting and support for the Palestinian cause. Riyadh is also working to ease tensions in Yemen, where it leads a military coalition against Iran-aligned Houthi forces. Regarding Raisi's call with the Crown Prince, a senior U.S. State Department official mentioned ongoing U.S. communication with Saudi leaders, including multiple conversations between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Saudi counterpart. Washington sought partners with influence over Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran to urge Hamas to cease attacks, release hostages, and prevent Hezbollah and Iran's involvement in the conflict. According to a source knowledgeable about Saudi perspectives, Gulf states, even those with established relationships with Israel, are worried. They fear that Iran could be drawn into a conflict detrimental to the region. The past week, as Alex Vatanka, director of the Iran program at the Middle East Institute in Washington, points out, has highlighted the stark contrast between Saudi and Iranian regional ambitions. The Saudis are adamant about steering the region toward collaboration and economic growth, whereas Iran seems intent on prioritizing the fight against Israel, he notes. Beyond ostracizing Israel, initiating a Muslim-led embargo would play into Iran's hands by exerting pressure on neighboring Azerbaijan. Baku has seen escalating tensions with Tehran, partly due to its close energy and security ties with Israel. While broad multilateral sanctions against Israel seem implausible, some analysts suggest that a narrower embargo, such as a temporary stop on crude shipments, could be a more viable option. However, such measures are unlikely to be endorsed by Israel's primary oil providers within the OECD. Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, responsible for more than half of Israel's oil supply, are not expected to back an embargo. Baku, in particular, has little incentive to jeopardize its relationship with Israel, upon which it relies for military hardware crucial to its dominance over Armenia. Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, both members of the OEC, could also be impacted by global sanctions against Israel following the 2020 Abraham Accords. These two Gulf Arab nations normalized ties with Israel, significantly boosting trade over the past year. Looking ahead, Iran's push for a Muslim embargo on Israel is poised to face resistance. Yet, as casualties mount in Palestine, Arab and Muslim nations might adopt a firmer stance against Israel. Iran could be positioning itself to foster closer ties with Saudi Arabia by advocating for Muslim unity, potentially using platforms like the OAS. Iran is also seeking to repair relationships with other regional influencers, such as Egypt. The current conflict in Gaza presents an opportunity for engagement that might otherwise be politically costly. Iran and Israel. Iran's foreign minister called on members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, to impose an oil embargo and other sanctions on Israel. 4 sources from the producer group told Reuters. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amirabdollahian on Wednesday called on OIC members to impose an oil embargo and other sanctions on Israel and expel all Israeli ambassadors. 4 sources from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, which produces a third of the world's oil and includes several Muslim countries, including Iran, said that no immediate action or emergency meetings were planned by the group in light of Iran's comments. "We are not a political organization," one of the sources said. On Tuesday, the Gulf Cooperation Council Secretary General, when asked whether Arab countries should reduce oil production in retaliation for Israel's actions in Gaza, said that the GCC was committed to energy security and shouldn't use oil as a weapon. The GCC works as a clear and honest partner as an oil exporter with the international community, and we can't use that as a weapon in any way possible, Yassem al-Budaiwi said. In 1973, Arab producers led by Saudi Arabia slapped an oil embargo on Western supporters of Israel in its war with Egypt, targeting Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, Britain, and the United States. Oil prices spiked as a result, but over the longer term, the crisis led to the development of new oil provinces outside the Middle East, like the North Sea and deepwater assets, and encouraged alternative energy. While Western countries were the main buyers of crude produced by the Arab countries at the time, nowadays Asia is the main buyer of OPEC's crude. The geopolitical environment is different compared to 50 years ago, another OPEC source said, about why an embargo won't be implemented. An urgent meeting of the OIC is taking place in the Saudi city of Jeddah to discuss the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, after a blast at a Gaza hospital late on Tuesday killed large numbers of Palestinians. Amirabdollahian also called for the formation of a team of Islamic lawyers to document potential war crimes committed by Israel in Gaza. Iran has no diplomatic relations with Israel. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel to ensure you don't miss our future updates. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.